Do you think there is a better understanding of how the media like judges women and or people and bodies and all of it?
I think the good news is that they've realized they're really not allowed to so much anymore. Once you get sued enough times, I think there's like, I think people change their attitude whether they want to or not. As for the Perez thing, like he really bullied me both like in person and on the internet for a long time, like through like social circles here in LA as well. So like he would pick a couple very famous targets and that was just sort of, that was that. Whatever, I don't even think he's that interesting or worth talking about at all. He's irrelevant now. But I think, you know, at the time, yes, it was hard because there was really no way to talk back. Like I was sort of just at the mercy of him being able to do that.
Did it feel like there was an unbelievable scrutiny, like to be inside of it?
It still affects me. I totally don't like when people run too fast or like cameras go off, because you don't forget, you know, like if you've been in any car accidents or anything like that caused by that kind of stuff and like, you know, you've had bad enough experiences, it sounds crazy, but like there's so many places I won't go and things I won't do that it's totally irrational at this point, but I still don't like to do them because it just reminds me of bad things. But you know, that's just stuff you work on. Your phone is also like a weapon. People can film you doing anything, but that's just like, you know, that's on you to just behave appropriately in public.
Do you feel like there is a better understanding of some of the issues that you've been able to talk about publicly?
Yes, I do, and I think it's extremely important. I think it's great that more celebrities and actors and just anybody really is able to say like I suffer from anxiety or I suffer from depression and not have this like incredible stigma hanging over them anymore. But depression and anxiety, they actually really matter to me and like they're things that are close to my heart. So I was like really hopeful that if people heard the other side of the story, they might kind of get it. Especially young girls and the kind of audience that watches The Hills, that they might kind of see a bigger, rounder picture of what you really go through in Hollywood and in this business.
A thing I think you have done a tremendous job of, which is talking about things that have happened to you, your life experiences, primarily in an effort to educate people. You know, in the case of the lawsuit and with Lisa Bloom and everything, like that was in like a pre-Me Too era. That was before we even really had revenge porn as a term.
It's really funny. I always joke that I'm like somehow like just those few years ahead of or behind the curve. Like I don't really know what it is. Like, so there was no social media to protect you and like fight back with the paparazzi.
Right.
So there was only ever what the paparazzi portrayed, and that's totally up to them what they do with those photos and how they want to make your narrative.
Yeah.
And then of course social media becomes a thing and now you can really control your narrative. But then yeah, of course the whole Me Too movement, I was like right behind that. So like I'm like trying to forge the way to explain everybody like what revenge porn is and like what these things are. Those women are so brave, and like, you know, thank God they have each other so that they can like have that support system, because it's really hard when you feel like you're the only person going through it, but it still takes so much bravery even if you have a ton of people behind you. That whole stalking thing really turned my world upside down. It was crazy. If you've never spent time in a courtroom, I don't highly recommend it. I would do whatever you can to stay out of one, because it's not really a great time, and it's really interesting. I do have this like very strong moral compass that my parents raised me with, so I'm not very good at like keeping my mouth shut and pretending it's not going on. So like I would say more like I felt totally forced into having to say something and do something, because the alternative would have been all of my dignity. So I had to, really. And I'm glad I did. And honestly, you know, like sometimes the things that turn out to be therapeutic and healing are the things that really do cost you a lot of anxiety and trouble in life. But then once you're past it and through it, you can say I did that. I didn't take it seriously because it was such an old franchise, and like I wasn't even sure that it was real that they were coming back. I mean, I knew some of them from back in the day, I just wasn't involved in their drama. I watched a tiny bit of it and realized that this was clearly, you were looking at people who are like 20, hungry, and like screaming at each other, putting their lives on television. It's nothing like 30-something-year-olds with babies and marriages.
A lot of people pointed out this infinity loop of you having started on the OC and it being sort of the heart of what sparked all of that universe
worse? Yes, it did. I mean, it's a known fact that the OC was like sort of, for better or worse, the beginning of that whole culture and fascination of LA rich kids and like what they get up to in their privileged lives. And it's always been really funny to me because I'm not even from here and I'm a New York, like, you know, London transplant. But I think that there is this misconception that I am Marissa Cooper exactly. I think people just want it to be true, you know, so badly, because if they like something so much and it's such a fun character for them or escapism thing, they have a deep attachment.
It probably makes people feel like they also know you and like feel this closeness with you.
And because of all of like the tabloid coverage and because of how much they've read about my life, most of it's not true, then they really do feel like they know you. So like, oh no, I differentiate between Mischa and Marissa, don't worry. But then like they don't really, kind of.
I was so taken with how vulnerable you were. I mean, auditioning on its own is like the world's most nerve-wracking experience, and I was like to have a camera there too.
That was sort of like, so if I look back at the things that I really like was very unsure about putting on television, that would be one of the main ones, because acting is a very, I don't want to say a sensitive subject for me, but it's my career, it's my life. I don't ever want them to take anything and put a spin on it that looks insincere. You know, I wanted them to not make too much fun of it or to like downplay it. But I think it turned out pretty respectful. There is a fine line there between being able to show people what your life is like and what you go through on a daily basis and the rest of it. So I wanted to be vulnerable. I wanted people to get to understand the real me. But it's really hard to do because I have a lot of trust issues with people already who have like span and like done weird things with my life story. So it's a process.